Linda, good evening.
Good evening, Sam. How's it going?
It's going excellent now that I'm home and doing something that I really enjoy doing.
Yay!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Life can be interesting sometimes.
It can be. And today has been one of those days where I've just had to punt.
Yep.
That's okay.
Yeah. And you sent this to me before you were telling me about some of the issues you had, right? Yeah. So how financial health is part of self care, and we talk a lot on this podcast about financial health and financial well being, financial freedom. We have a financial freedom masterclass, but it is so vital to our mental health and to our self care.
It is because when you're having financial stress, it affects your mental health, it affects your sleep, it affects it can affect your heart and your physical health.
Mhm.
It really does affect everything.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny. As I've been working my way out of my particular circumstance this past year, just how some of the stress, I paid off a couple of credit cards, I made all the, and just making the arrangements to make those payments took a ton of stress
Hmm.
off of me. Even
Yep.
though it didn't pay anything off,
Yep.
I was able to make the arrangements so that I wasn't getting the letters, I wasn't getting the phone calls, I wasn't getting the emails.
Yep.
And I set up a plan and I'm following the plan. So I know exactly where everything is going.
Mhm.
And it really does make life so much easier.
It does. It does. And we work together, and you've used me as accountability in a
Yeah.
couple areas and things like that. And how does that affect your thought process when it comes to doing things? Knowing that I'm going to ask the question.
Yeah. You know, and it really does. Up until now, that had not been part of budgeting had not been part of
Mhm.
something that I was very good at. I mean, early on in our marriage, I was very good with a budget. And then when we moved to Wyoming and we were only getting paid once a month, we were extremely good with the budget
Mhm.
because we got the money, we paid everything.
Mhm.
And as it stands right now, the pension comes once a month.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't doing like we did in Wyoming. I was, I would, everything came out automatic and it came
Yep.
out at a certain time. And in between, I was trying to catch up on other things and it put me in the hole.
Yep.
So I shut off the automatic payments. And even that was a relief. So now I have structure,
Mhm.
and even though part of me is very high I and I'm not structured for a lot of things, having that part structured has been very beneficial to my well-being. Um, I no longer lose sleep at night.
Mhm.
Um, if something's coming up and I don't feel I have the funds, I have the time to go and
Mhm.
do what I need to do to get the funds.
Mhm.
Um, but I also know it's not going to come out and put me in the hole either.
Right.
And I can make those arrangements. And if it looks like I'm going to be late, I can make a call and say,
Cool.
you know, give me a couple of days, it's coming.
Yeah.
Um, what it's made me have to do is be an adult about my finances. Okay, so I'm going to be 64 in a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
Um, and I know how to be an adult
Mhm.
with finances, but one of the things that happens when you get so far behind or when you get so out of control is the adult part of you shuts down and you put your head in the sand and I know what for me, I thought, okay, I made this mess, I'll fix it. And I chose by fixing it not to answer those and not talk to
Right,
those people because that really stressed me out.
right, right.
And really all they care about is knowing what's going on.
Yep.
Um, at least in my experience right now, I am not up against we don't care about you, just pay us.
Right,
I'm
right.
not getting that. And so that has been very helpful.
And when you begin to communicate, sometimes when you start communicating with them, they are, we don't care, just pay us. However,
They're hoping that you'll cave, and but
right,
once they realize that you are telling them the truth,
right. And if you stand your ground and say, this is what I can do and this is when I can do it, and then you follow through. I had a client who was very, I mean, we're talking $30,000 in credit card debt. And everybody was calling them. And uh, he started calling them first. And so what I told him to do was to pick a day. Wednesday is the best day, actually, to call and tell them what you can and can't do. And so you call and he was calling. He's saying, "This is what I'm going to do. Just I'm calling to remind you that the payment is. I said I would make sure that it was made by the 15th. I have it. This is the check number. It's coming to you by the 15th." It got to a point with many of the creditors where they said, "Hey, we know. Thank you. Stop calling." And so that took extra stress off of them. And because the creditors will assign you an account manager, and his name's going to be Bill Story or Bill whatever, but that's not his name, by the way.
yeah,
But they once you are consistent for a couple months, they'll start backing off. And then when it's time to make an arrangement, you make the arrangement on Friday afternoon. If it's time to make an arrangement to pay it off or to negotiate a balance drop, just think about it. That is a stressful job, collecting money from people who are struggling. What are they doing on Friday? By 10 o'clock Friday morning, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
they're ready to. They've been pursuing people all week, and they're
Right.
ready to be done.
And now somebody calls them and says, "Hey, I owe X amount of dollars on this bill. I came into some money. I would like to offer you X amount to close this deal, to close the account, being noted as paid as agreed." Okay. Not how much you paid, but paid as agreed
Agreed.
on the
Not
credit.
a hit on my credit.
Yep. And if they say, "Well, no, we'll take that and put it towards the account," you say, "No, we can either do this or I'm calling the next person on my list," because they already know you have a list of people you're paying.
Right.
Okay.
You don't do this over one bill unless it's a big bill.
No, no. And so when that is done, eventually they're going to start taking your money and wiping it out. Now you've just wiped out another debt and it's paid as agreed. They can't come back on you. They can't sell the rest of the debt to somebody else. You paid as agreed. And the thing is that the original credit, if it's a debt collector, the original creditor is only getting a small percentage anyway. And the creditor, what they show when they go out to try and buy debt is, this is our close rate. Not this is the percentage that we collect. This is the number of accounts that we have closed out of all the accounts that we buy. We buy 1,000 accounts a month and we close 80% of those. Well, they don't tell you they closed them at 10 cents on the dollar. So, and that doesn't matter. So anyway, yeah. And so communication is the key.
So along those lines, if you're working directly with the creditor, Or have they, when you call and say this is, I can't pay the full amount you need me, can we negotiate down on what the monthly payment's going to be? Are they open to letting that go earlier?
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally they and a lot of times, depending on how long it's been being carried or how old the debt is, if it's been through one or two or three collection agencies, the first thing you do is say, hey, I don't believe I owe this. Send me all the original documentation stuff. Now some of them have gotten wise to that. And when they buy the debt, they buy all the original documents. However, a lot of them don't. And in order for them to continue to collect and to keep it on your credit report, they have to provide you that information. If they don't provide you that information, you turn around and say, after, I think they have 30 days once you request it, you give them another month or two and say, this has been requested. This is my third request, the initial request, boom, boom, boom. You got a document.
Yeah.
And I have all the ways of doing that. And then if they have not proved that you owe the debt and they don't clear it, the first thing you do is you dispute it on your credit report. They will come back and say they owe the debt. Then you can go to the federal agency that controls that, and you send them a record. This is what I've done. This is what I've sent to them. They have not proved this. Boom, 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 boom. And probably 95% of the time, because they have not responded accurately, they will close the debt.
Okay.
They will be forced to by the government because they can't prove that you owe the debt. So they can't legally be collecting it, and it wipes it completely off your credit report. It goes away.
Does it go away, or does it show up as paid?
It goes away. Completely
Or
goes
does your credit go up then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's removed. If it's a collection, it's removed a negative connotation on your report,
Right.
and they can't bring it back. And they can't sell it.
Ah.
Yeah. So if they sell it, they get a huge amount. And if they send it back to the original creditor, and the original creditor tries to sell it again, I think the penalty is 3 times the amount of the original debt. And courts just love those.
So as you're listening to this, if this doesn't take some stress off of you, even if you're not really in financial difficulty, I mean, just think about, these are the kind of things that at least I wasn't raised understanding that about credit. Now, credit has changed over my lifetime.
Mhm.
And as you bring, as the kids and the grandkids and the great grandkids are growing up, everything is on a debit card or a credit card.
Mhm.
Everything's going electronic. Think of how we've pretty much given them access to our bank accounts.
Mhm.
Now, you want to be a good steward. So, making sure you understand your finances is a huge part of self-care.
Yep.
You don't want to think you're okay and find out you're not.
Yes.
You don't want to think you understand any agreements that you've got with, and if you've got a credit card that has a variable rate, it's this, or it's so much over the standard rate, that's a variable because the government does go in and change the interest rate.
Yeah.
And so you really need to keep on top of that.
Yes. And Yeah, and it's supposed to be based on the prime. And so what's happened to the prime over the last 2 quarters? It's come down. I think I can't remember how many basis points. So they should be lowering your interest rate. Here's the other thing: if you have, if you're behind and you're trying to get caught up, but the interest rate is killing you,
Mhm.
so you're making the minimum payment, and you've got a let's just take $5,000, and you're making minimum payment on $5,000. The interest alone is eating up 3/4 or more of that minimum payment.
Right.
Just look at it; it is. So, what's to hurt calling the credit card company and say, "Hey, I'm just wanting to know if I could have 0% interest on this card for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months." The longest they'll go is 18 months.
Yeah.
There's no harm in asking, because rather than let you get further and further and further behind, they may take it. So if you ask for 0% for 18 months, they may come back and say, "Hey, you know what? We can probably do that for 12 months, or we can go to 12% for 18 months, or whatever the percentage rate you get." If you can, because I'm telling you, if you haven't looked at your credit card interest rates lately, they are high.
And if you are in financial difficulty and they send you these help rebuild your credit
Yeah,
cards.
don't do it.
Those I got one the other day. It's been a long time since I've gotten one. And I got one the other day, which number one tells me that my credit is starting to rebuild
Mhm.
because now they're sending the interest rate is like 37%.
Yep.
You
I've
know,
seen it as high as 49%.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's like getting a payday loan. You don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
it is. It is. And then you want to really be careful. There are some, uh, uh, um, they're almost like loan sharks.
Yeah.
They offer line of credit. Now, if you qualify for a line of credit at your bank, that's a different story. And that can help, because like credit unions do that a lot, and it lowers, you have a lower rate, a much lower
Mhm.
rate than a credit card. And so you can use that in a number of ways, and I can and inform you how to do that. But there's line of credit companies out there, and if you look at the fine print, the interest rate is like 595%, because they charge you a service fee,
Mm,
which they can legally do. They can't legally charge you 595%, but
no,
they
they
can
can charge
charge you
you.
a monthly service fee of, say, $100 on $1,000 line of credit that you've used, and your monthly payment is 115. So on a
You're only
thousand
paying
dollars, you're paying
$15 towards it.
$15 a month against the principal. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't work, friends. It doesn't work.
And the
So
other thing to be careful of is to make sure, especially with the new cards coming out, that they're not secured credit,
yes,
because then you put your house, your car, your house that's in jeopardy.
yeah, and secured lines of credit are not worth it. They're just and line of credit, unless it's at a financial institution that you trust, like your local credit union or bank, that the interest rate is, in the single digits, okay, um, before the decimal point, um, uh, then you really don't want to pursue that. The thing is that it can be useful. Now, I was trained under Dave Ramsey's system that says no debt is good. Um, I subscribe to that to a certain extent, but when you get to a point of financial freedom and financial well-being, then I can teach you how to use other people's money wisely.
Hmm.
And that's what you're doing. You're using other people's money, and the scripture tells us the borrower is a slave to the lender. And if you stop and think about it, the slave is the self care part, because
Yeah.
you're worried about the debt.
Yep.
and it keeps you up at night. And so who are you thinking about? You're thinking about that institution or that person that you owe money to, right?
Yep.
So, so there you go. I put a link in there to Linda and I with Balancing Act have a joint email, balancingact2024 at gmail.com. And I put a link into our Financial Freedom Masterclass Facebook page for you to jump on and join if you would like. But what would really help us out is if you like, share, comment,
Mhm.
let us know what you think about what we have to say, and ask any questions. We'll get back to you, and hope you enjoy this, and hope it's brought value to you.
And just remember that you're not alone,
Yes, never. You are never alone.
especially right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And that there's no shame.
No shame. There, trust me, I've either done it or seen it. Linda and I both have been in that situation, and we've either done it or we've seen it. And
And
so,
we're people doing the best we can with what we have, right? And so sometimes that isn't what we hope for, but
yeah,
there's no judgment, no
no,
judgment at all.
none at all. None at all. So,
I am the last one to point a finger
yeah, me too.
for many different things.
Yep. Yep.
But reach out and let us know how we can,
Yeah.
talk with us, and let's see if we can help bring some of that stress level down. Um, and if you are not in a place of financial difficulty, reflect on how that makes your life.
Yes.
How do you feel?
Share your
know,
story with us.
Share your story.
Let us know.
You know,
We'll bring it on.
we're here for successes too,
Yeah.
And for me, every time I pay off a card or bill that got out of control, it's just reiterating that it's not the end of the world and this can be done.
Right. Right. We have a mutual friend who started down this path, and I don't think this person believed what I was saying until they followed my advice. and it was like, wow, that worked. Yeah.
And the funny thing is if you're really feeling stuck, more than likely you can't make it any worse.
Yeah.
Give it a try, but definitely communicating with your creditors.
Yeah.
It really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And to be honest, part of my debt is tax.
Yeah.
And everybody's always afraid to call the IRS or your state tax office, and they have actually been the easiest to talk to.
Yeah.
You know,
IRS is a lot easier to talk to if you realize that it is a human on the other end.
and you don't go in, don't
Guns blazing. Yeah.
don't go in with any of the folks that you talk to about where your finances are. Even if you feel that you've been victimized, that's not the mindset to go in with.
No. No.
Whatever happened, whether it's right or not, it's what happened. And so now you need calm, cool-headedness to help mitigate and get you out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that will help your self-care and your health so much more if you can approach it from, yeah, it sucks, but now we're gonna set up a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time that's all we need is a plan.
Yeah.
But we know what do we do instead of don't be like I was for a long time, sitting in my bed with the covers over my head going, if I don't get up, nobody knows me.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't stop that interest from accruing. So,
No, it does not. It does not at all.
Inaction is not your friend in this
No,
circumstance.
no.
It really isn't.
And yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned the IRS. You really do truly have to understand that the IRS really wants to help you get it resolved. but also understand every conversation you have with them is recorded and archived. Also, if you're afraid of AI, the IRS has been using it for years. They may not be calling it AI, but they have a script, and every answer that you give prompts the next question. And they're just asking them based on your answers, pure and simple.
Yep.
Whatever question they ask, it's based on the answer to a previous question. It just is. So I would encourage you, especially if you have tax. Right now is probably the best time to begin to try and negotiate with the IRS and talk to them and get a payment plan. They may not stop interest and penalties. Well, they may stop penalties if you ask. They'll stop penalties before they'll stop interest.
Yeah.
But and they will write it off. But you have to be the human in the situation.
Yeah.
You have to be empathetic and compassionate and understand. An IRS agent that is in collections, not a pretty job.
No.
I had a friend who did that, and I talked to him, and that definitely changed my whole perspective on
Anyone whose job is in collections, it's hard.
Yep.
Sometimes they are tough with you because they've had to put up that wall.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
There's very few that enjoy demeaning.
I'll tell you a really funny story about the IRS, and it's my own ignorance, right? But you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've got the email up there if you need some help, need some support.
Yeah, absolutely. Through circumstances somewhat in my control and somewhat out of my control. Is that a victim statement? I sure felt like it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Had IRS trouble, 100% penalty. Not taxes, 100% penalty. And I argued and I fought, and I thought I was going to beat the IRS. And once I met this gentleman, had some good conversations with him. Of course, the monthly call came up, and I took a different approach. Well, the agent, it was a new one, new to me. I mean, she probably wasn't a new IRS agent, but new to me. They kept bouncing me around. Obviously, they have notes on you. Okay, trust me, they have notes on you. They have all the conversations. And so she probably knew what she was getting into before she picked up the phone to make the call. And I had resolved, I realized what I had done, okay, how I had been. And so she got on the call, and before she even started, I said, ma'am, just give me a second here. I would like to say something. I said, I realize over the years I have been a not nice person to the IRS. Now, I don't know if I've talked to you before, but I apologize. I can't be that way. It's wrong. And I had no clue about some of these things. So where are we going from here? What can we do to resolve this? I cannot pay this. This is insane, the amount of money. And I caught myself getting defensive again. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, how can we resolve this? It eventually got resolved, very much so in my favor. Not because of who was right or who was wrong, but because I decided that I needed to be the human being in the situation with the agent and allow her to do her job. And then she could see what she could do for me. Long story short, it was resolved because the law that was in effect when I was assessed the penalty was only on the books for 1 year, and they realized it was a mistake. There was a resolution that came down several years after they took the law off the books, not immediately. But somebody had been a jerk to them for all those years, and they didn't need to tell me or didn't want to tell me because they were just going to try and, see if they could get the money out of me. I put myself in that stressful situation for more years than I needed to because the law had changed and they were able to write it all off. They didn't have to,
Right.
but they had the ability to. But it wasn't until I changed my attitude and so she didn't do it immediately. There had to be some work throughs. We're going to start the negotiation process. We're going to set up a payment. We're going to do what we can, right? And then after a couple of calls, so probably several months, that's when she came back and said, "This is what I can do. I'm writing it off today."
Nice.
It goes away,
Yeah.
right?
It never hurts you to be human and nice to another human being. Never.
No, never. So, Linda, do you have any last thoughts or?
No, just we're here, and Sam especially can help you figure some things out. I would definitely, if you're in a financial situation and you want a clear head to help you through, I definitely recommend you talk to Sam. Just know that everything around us affects our self-care, and our mental, emotional, and physical well-being.
Yep.
So all sorts of things can get in the way of that being taken care of.
Yep.
And my specialty is helping you find ways to look after yourself during those stressful times. So if you're in a stressful time and you need some ideas, reach out and we can chat. Otherwise, that's, the other thing is I've got the support equation that started on Monday, and Monday again will be week 2. You can
Do you
jump
have
in.
a link for that, Linda?
I think so. I didn't have it ready again.
This is I was in on that Monday, and I think that this is for self-care. The support equation is excellent. Linda does a really good job. She knows her stuff. And here's the thing about the financial side of it. I can help you with the financial side, and we can set up accountability and everything. The biggest thing about the financial side is accountability, and I know that for a lot of times I've worked with females, especially single women, and they have a hard time allowing me to help them be accountable. And so we have Linda here, and if the two of us are working with you, trust me, we will hold you accountable. We will keep you on the right path. I strongly recommend that you check out this Linda's new program, part of her Love Life journey.
This is the link that'll take you to the payment page. It's $87. We've got 5 more sessions, and everything's recorded. So even if you did miss the first one, you will have access to that. It will be in the course, and we've got a community going around that where we can check in and help each other. That's what everything's about. Is you shouldn't have to go through any of this kind of stuff alone.
Right.
So we're all here for each other, and there's ways to help each other without getting sucked into the emotion and the drama of what's ever going on.
Right.
And that's what this program's about. And between Sam and I think we're a good pair to give you some help.
Yep, I think we are. Once again, if you want to help us out, share, like, comment, all that stuff definitely helps us to grow our channels. That's we really the bigger impact we can make on the more people, I think the better it is for everybody concerned that comes in contact with us. So So,
Right.
Linda, that's all I have for tonight.
Me too. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you next week.
Yes.